Now, virtual device context. We learned in the previous class that this is creating multiple virtual switches from one physical switch. Now, how many virtual switches depends on the supervisors that we have. Similar concept is also there in iOS XR, newer versions of iOS XR called SRD. But again, I'm telling you, it's not in all iOS XR, in the newer versions, where the hypervisor and the kernel has got some change. Like, let us not get into that area, but what I'm trying to say is we can do similar stuff in iOS XR. Even Cisco ASA platform, we used to call it as multi-context. Multi-context. Right, so we are not going to focus on multi-context or SRD. Our focus is on VDC. We learned what is VDC in 7000 series. Now this is a scenario where we can use VDC, multi-tenants. There are two tenants you see, customer A and customer B. I want two separate Nexus switch. So I create two VDCs, one called customer A, another one called customer B. Whereas in 9000 series, we have tenant itself. We can create tenants. You don't need to create VDCs. We can create tenants. We can have VRFs. That is a different story. Do not mix them with this. Here it is VDC, virtual device context. You see, it's one physical switch, but two virtual switches you see here. And the picture very clearly says that there is an allocation of port for this virtual switch and some ports are allocated to this switch. See, this angle of learning is needed for today's class. We so far focused what is VDC, not much about the configuration side or the resource allocation side. Now, when you want to understand configuration, you need to know much more about VDC in the resource management side. You see, we are going to slice the big physical box into virtual boxes. So you need to very clearly say which all the interfaces will be a member of customer A, which all physical interfaces will be member of customer B. This is one example of resource allocation. Not only that, please focus, very important thing, when the hardware boots, which one to boot first? Should I boot customer A first or customer B first? Is there any prioritization needed? That is also a kind of resource allocation. We are giving preference to a customer by saying when a system boots, physical device boots, this is the VM first need to open. This is the virtual switch that needs to get booted first. So this is not new to those who have worked in VMware or Proximo. There also we have the sequence, loading sequence. Even there also you allocated some hard disk. That is what resource allocation. CPU, RAM. Likewise in Nexus, we need to allocate CPU. For customer A, this much of CPU. For customer B, this much of RAM. each virtual switch needs RAM, CPU, interface. Not only that, we also need to specify how many IPv4 routes the routing table can accommodate. How many IPv6 route? What should be the MAC table size? You see, you can allocate those resources to each virtual switches. What if you don't do that? There is a default resource allocation prescribed by Cisco that will be done for all customers equally. But if you say, no, this customer pays less than the other customer, so I want to give more resource to that customer, then you have to do it manually. So what I'm trying to say is resource allocation is not mandatory. If you don't have any constraint, you can leave it default. Just create VDC, allocate some interface. Whoever logs into that VDC will have only those interface, those resource. Nothing more, nothing less. For example, in that physical switch, you have 300 port. In that, you have taken 10 port and given to this and 10 port given to this. So when you log into this management IP address, you will see only 10 ports when you type show interface brief. You will not see 300 ports. Whereas in the physical hardware device, you will see all 300 ports. But when a VDC admin logs into his VDC, listen, you will give this customer B one IP address, let's say 192.168.1.2. To this customer, you say 192.168.1.1. So this customer logs in, he will see the 10 interface given to that customer. And when this customer logs in with this IP address, telnets or SSH to this IP address, in his virtual machine, he will find his 10 interface. Nothing more. Customer B cannot add extra ports. Customer A cannot add any extra port. If he needs 11th port, he has to approach the admin of the physical box. The admin of this VDC should approach the admin of the service provider. And that admin, after taking the money, he will allocate one more port here. So what I'm trying to say is, we have another VDC here called admin VDC. This is admin VDC. The base, the physical box is in control of admin VDC. This admin VDC is not given to any customer. It is only with this Nexus admin, this physical box admin, the service provider, the data center service provider, the data center owner. He only have got that privilege of deciding how many ports to give to customer A and B. He only has got the privilege of adding and removing port. No customers will have. Customers can use only what has been given. Same story now in Proximo and in VMware. For EVE-NG, if you give 16 GB RAM, after logging into EVE, can you increase the RAM? No. Who can do that? The Proximo admin only can do that. EVE-NG cannot do it. EVE-NG will see maximum 16 GB only. Even if the server has got 128 GB, EVE-NG cannot increase the RAM. Likewise, Each VDC admin will have only control over their own received resource. Whatever they received, only that much. If they want more, they need to contact the admin VDC member. So the default VDC there is admin VDC. On all Nexus, you will have a VDC by default called admin VDC. Only in that admin VDC you can create customer A, customer B, customer C, customer D, depending on the license and the supervisor module. You can create VDCs, but only from the admin VDC. Sitting inside this customer B, you cannot create any VDC. You cannot create a virtual machine sitting inside a virtual machine. Can you do that? You are inside a virtual machine. Can you create another virtual machine? I don't know. But in here, not possible. In ASA firewall, not possible. In iOS XR, not possible. In Nexus, not possible. If you have logged in as customer B, you cannot create another VDC. But if you have logged in as admin VDC member of an admin VDC, then you can create. If you are a super user. We'll talk about the user roles later. We have supervisor role, super user role, read only supervisor. Later we'll talk. You see, we have only control over our own resource when we are a member of a VDC. But if you are a member of an admin VDC, you have control over the whole resource of the switch, the complete resource of the switch. Okay, so that's one thing that we should know. What is pre-request? What is the pre-request for VDC? We need a license. The admin VDC, no? The one which is default, there is no license. It is there by default when you buy it. When you on, you will have admin. Again, only 7,000 series is capable of VDC. What about 9,000? No. We don't call their VDC. We call tenants. 5,000? No. 3,000? No. So when I was asked by you many times about 9,000, I was hesitating, but again I was using the word VRF, tenant. The reason is, a kind of VDC there we see, but we don't call it as VDC. Fine. Now limitations. What is the limitation of Cisco VDC? It is only in this series, so you need to buy the series. And if you are using supervisor 3E, then you can have 8 plus 1 admin VDC. 2E also 8 plus 1 admin VDC. The difference is the throughput. More resources in 3E, you can have little bit more CPU and RAM compared to 2E. We saw the difference earlier in the table. All right, so supervisor 2 allows you only 4 plus 1 VDC. Supervisor 1, there is no admin VDC. In total, you got only 4. You can give all 4 or keep 1 for yourself for management and give 3 to others. Again, only the administrator of that admin VDC, which is default, can create VDCs. We just saw. Only the super user admin, not a supervisor admin. Supervisor admin is read only. You need to be a supervisor. As I said, we'll talk about the roles later, admin roles. Now let's see how to configure VDC. Log into the global configuration mode. You are right now in admin VDC. That is the default VDC. When you log in, you are already in VDC. It won't show you, but it is admin VDC. And create the VDC that you want. As I said, if you put a keyword storage, then it is storage VDC. Meaning it will do only FC, fiber channel, no Ethernet. If you don't say storage, then it is unified. Unified. You can have interface in FC as well as in Ethernet. Okay, now just one command VDC and then a name that you want to give. This is how it will show you. Creating VDC, one more please. Now you type show VDC command, you will see two VDCs. One is the default admin VDC. You see the admin VDC. We did not create this. And for each VDC, there will be one MAC address. And then the VDC that you created got a dynamically generated MAC address. See, in each Nexus, there will be a MAC pool with 8 MAC addresses. When you create VDCs, automatically one address from the pool will be given to each VDC. A unique MAC address for each VDC will be given. Now, we did not mention storage, so it's a Ethernet type VDC. And the line cards, M, I told you, M focuses mostly on layer 3. And some layer 2 feature is also available. F1 card, line cards focuses more on layer 2. We spoke about these things early, like 2-3 classes before, in a table. M card, F1 card, M2 card. See, for admin VDC, there is no line card because it is only for administration. Through console port and through management port, you can go inside that VDC. There is no IO module needed. It's an admin VDC. We did not create this, it is by default. Now, optionally, we can allocate resource inside your VDC. See, you must allocate some interface at least. You created a Nexus switch. Like you create VLAN. If you don't allocate interface to VLAN, what is the use of the VLAN? Likewise, you have to allocate some interface at least. Let's see an example here. You see, we created VDC. We created VDC. Now you need to get into that VDC by, this is how you created VDC. You need to get into that VDC mode. I want to repeat something here. You are not logging into that Nexus virtual VDC customer A. No, you are not logging into the device. virtual console. No, no, no. You created a virtual machine, but still the creation is under process. You need to allocate some resource. So you are taken into the mode where you can say this interface, I want to give it to this customer, these two ports. You can also use range, -1, -11, right? And then as soon as you hit enter and try to exit, when you try to exit from this mode, it'll ask you the question, hey, you want to remove these two ports from removing from the admin, the default VDC? You want to remove it from, sorry, not from the admin VDC, from the default, from the hardware. You want to take those two ports and give it to this virtual device. And if you are sure, then you say yes. These are all optional. You can also, means optional. You can also, yeah, limit the resource for the customer. I can say limit resource port channel. From that VDC, 32 port channel only can be created, not more than that. IPv4 route, unicast routes. In the routing table, 32, sorry, this is memory. Unicast route memory. Minimum 32, maximum equal to, Okay, this is not talking about the number of routes. This is talking about the size of the memory. But here, this is talking about the number of port channel. IPv6 routes. VLANs. Only 32 VLANs you can create. It's not memory. Total number of VLANs that you create is only 32. VRFs, 32. All right. So likewise, you can give more resources. You can also have more resources if you go to Nexus configuration guide in Cisco. You will see it. I have opened it already. Yeah. So you see, admin VDC also you can configure if you want. If you want to use that VDC for your customer, you can do that, but it's not recommended. Right? Now, creating VDC. Say VDC test. Interface is allocated. Immediately it shows, are you sure you want to do? And then logging into the VDC, you can do like this. Switch to command. See, this is creating VDC. This is not logged into the VDC. This is logging into the VDC, meaning it will get into that virtual computer, virtual switch. See, it's booting. It is asking you to set the password. And then it'll ask you to give the management IP address. This is the IP address that you will give to the customer to do telnet. All right? And then it boots for the first time. Boots. And then exit. You see, there are show VDC. It shows there are 4 VDC. Currently, you are inside this VDC. See, you can set the VLAN 16 VLAN minimum, maximum 4094. Yeah, you can set limits. Yes. Okay, so we can create VDCs like this, and we can allocate resource. After allocating resource, you use the command switch to. You use the command switch to and log into that VDC. Very important, giving IP address and gateway. The other things I don't want to copy. And now this is the IP address that you will give to the customer. After you log in, you see this is the old prompt switch. But after you boot, you see how the prompt changes. Prompt changes to the switch.test. Test is the VDC name. After booting it, it becomes like this. All right. So show VDC, show running. See, when you are inside a VDC, no, this is not actually inside the VDC. This is in the, I think so. It's inside the VDC. It will show only those resources that you have allocated. Nothing more extra in the running config. All right. So that's the configuration part. This you cannot do it in EVE. This virtualization concept is not supported in EVE earlier. See, if you want to set the boot order, let's say you have 8 VDC, admin VDC will always be the prioritized one. But for the other VDCs, you can set the boot order number. The range for number argument is from 1 to 4. If it is supervisor, 2 more. If it is supervisor 2E, you can create up to 8 VDC, so it is 1 to 8. Okay, so now which one is preferred? Lower is preferred or higher is preferred? Lower is preferred. VDC with number 1 will boot first. By default, all VDCs will have VDC1 and all will boot equally at the same time. After the admin VDC boots, all VDC, 8 VDC will boot together. But if you wish to say, no, let me make this particular customer A VDC boot first so that it can boot faster. When everyone boots together, it will be a little bit delayed. Where you can set the sequence. For other, you can give 2, 3, 4, something like this. When you delete VDC, no, this one. That's all. So you can have sequence. Now, when you want to save as a physical Nexus admin, if you type this command, copy running configuration VDC all, not only admin VDC configuration gets copied, even the other VDCs, non-admin VDCs, and their configurations get saved. You can also say per admin. All right. or you can log into one particular VDC and reload that virtual non-admin VDC. That virtual device alone will get rebooted. Like we used to reboot now. EV. Show VDC membership will show you all the interfaces that are allocated to that VDC. Show VDC resource segment will show you how much CPU, how much of memory, IPv4 route, IPv6, all this stuff. Later you look into this one. Now I want to take you to a place where the storage VDC is. This is high availability for redundancy. With a nice topology, we'll discuss that in the next class. But now I want to see, these are all the cards available. F card, M1 card. Go through this later, but I want to now focus on the storage VDC. Oh yeah. You see, in Nexus 7000 and 9500 for storage VDC, we need to see. It is not in this document, so I'll go there. So you can create a VDC called storage VDC. You see, very simple. You need to say VDC storage and the name. Now this interface will be only FC interface. Even though it says Ethernet, it is not Ethernet, it is going to be FC, fiber channel. You see the mode is not access mode or trunk mode, it is F mode. F means fabric. See, after you create the VDC, as usual, you type switch to VDC, VDC name. Go inside the interface and then set mode. We'll talk about storage later, but what I am trying to say is in that under the topic VDC, I want to say something here. What? You can also create a dedicated FC virtual switch, which is called storage VDC, and this is the command to create it. Earlier, when we created VDC, we simply said VDC and VDC name. We just said VDC and VDC name. But now you included a keyword storage and then name. That is storage VDC. Whatever the interface that you allocate, that will not be Ethernet carrying interface, it will be only FC. Any question? All right, I'll teach you about VFC when we talk about FCOE, technology called fast fiber channel over Ethernet. Fiber channel over Ethernet needs SVI kind of. In switching, we used to call SVI, no? VLAN interface called SVI. Likewise, here, FCOE interface called Virtual Fiber Channel Interface, VFCI. It's not a physical interface, it's a virtual interface. Now that virtual interface is binded with a physical interface which you have. So that we can do FC over this Ethernet. This is the physical interface Ethernet, but the VDC is storage VDC. If you want to carry that storage thing over the Ethernet, you need a storage interface, FC interface, virtual fiber channel interface. Take the fiber channel traffic and transport it over the Ethernet. That is why it is called as FCOE. More detail we'll see later. Today our focus is not on FCOE or a VFC. Our focus is only on VDC, and we finish this topic VDC here. We'll start new topic in our